The Jindabyne Landfill Failure number 160, a problem dumped on the ratepayers. Welcome to MonaroZone, the only place giving you the full picture of what's happening inside the Snowy Monaro Regional Council. Today, we are diving deep into what can only be described as a full-blown governance failure, the Jindabyne Landfill Failure, a disaster years in the making, ignored by those in charge, and now dumped quite literally on the ratepayers. Last week, it was revealed that the Jindabyne tip, the only landfill serving one of the region's most rapidly growing communities, is at capacity and effectively closed to commercial use. No early warning, no transition plan, no public consultation. Just a sudden announcement that's left builders, residents, and small business operators scrambling. But here's the kicker. This wasn't a surprise to those watching closely. This landfill has had a known finite lifespan for decades. Councillors were asking questions 6 months ago. Staff raised concerns even earlier. And yet, what did the council executive do? Nothing. No plan, no update, no transparency. And when the news finally broke, it came late at night in a hastily thrown-together document, riddled with contradictions, vagueness, and spin. Worse still, while the tip filled up, so did the excuses. Councillors were told the weighbridge had been broken, so they couldn't track inflow, a basic piece of infrastructure left unfixed. We're told a new resource recovery center will be built, but that plan has already been quietly abandoned. We're told the EPA won't allow certain actions, but no written advice has been provided. And we're told above all to just trust the executive, as the same people who ignored the warnings are now scrambling to patch the leak with spin and staffing shifts. Yet amidst all this, only a handful of councillors are asking the hard questions. Councillors like Nick Elliott, Andrew Thaler, and Ruben Rose, among the few independents in the chamber, are not content to slap a press release on a rotting bin and call it good governance. They want to know, who knew? When did they know? Why was nothing done? And what steps will be taken to ensure that this never happens again? In contrast, the gang continues to run interference. Rather than confront the system failures or demand written advice from the EPA, they are more concerned with maintaining unity, avoiding embarrassment, and protecting the reputation of the executive team. This is a classic pattern of dysfunction. The problem was foreseeable, the warnings were ignored, the response was chaotic, and now the ratepayers are left to pick up the pieces. So today, we're going through the highlights of the council debate where this all came to a head. You'll hear the frustration, the contradictions, the misdirection, and the courage of those few councillors willing to call it what it is: a systems failure. This isn't just about a tip. This is about accountability, planning, and the long-term viability of our region. Stick with us, because if we don't learn from this, the next crisis is already on its way. Let's get into it.
Pretty straightforward. I know that last Thursday, councillors had a briefing, and part of that briefing there was a lot of some concerns around the Jindabyne landfill reaching capacity. This is allowing the CEO to continue work for our community in Jindabyne to make sure that landfill does not close, and it puts some things in place to start that. There will be monthly reporting back to councillors and community members in regards to this, and I think this is, I applaud the CEO and his staff for the last week. This has been a big week for them in regards to the Jindabyne landfill, and they've done a great job. So I appreciate everything in these circumstances. I wish we knew earlier. That would have been good, but unfortunately we didn't, and it came to us on last Thursday. So I commend this motion. Do I have someone speaking against?
I hope the Jindabyne community accepts my apology as a councillor that this situation has occurred. It is unacceptable, and there is actually no fair explanation. I have been following the waste strategy conversations for many years, and I've attended many of the briefings, and I engage the community. It has always been known that Jindabyne landfill had a finite life, as does Cooma, as does Bombala. The fact that Jindabyne is now full is not a surprise. I was warned of it, told about it 6 months ago. But due to code of conduct and code of meeting practice arguments, I can't reveal it. But I have asked this council that every time we've come together, I've asked for a briefing on the waste situation, the waste strategy. And I've been told repeatedly, yes, Councillor Thaler, we'll get one organised. Yes, we're getting one together. It never happened. What we were told was, oopsie, the tip's full. That's not acceptable. I spoke with State Member Steve Wan and Federal Member Kristen McBain last weekend at the Bombala Show and in Cooma at the Multicultural Festival. This document was received, I think, last night around 9:30 p.m. by councillors, so there's really no notice. And unfortunately, I was busy this morning. I couldn't be here for any debate if there was in the briefing session. It says staffing has been arranged to assist patrons on site at the new transfer station. Does that mean that we're going to help people unload their rubbish? Are we allowed to? It says that existing plans are in place under the council's adopted waste management strategy. Where is it? Why is it not attached to the business paper or included with this document? It hasn't been talked about for a long time, been forgotten. It says that we've lodged a development proposal for this new transfer facility, but we were told that that proposal is now redundant and basically abandoned, and that it was 5 to 8 years away anyway. So it talks about here in the report, the middle of the paragraphs in the report, current estimates indicate a lead time of approximately 2.5 years is required for the completion of the Resource Recovery Centre. Well, I think that's abandoned. Due to the site's weighbridge being out of commission for an extended period, accurate updated inflow data for the facility has been unavailable. You can't blame the broken weighbridge. That again was brought before this council. Many questions were asked. There's a new weighbridge was put in some 6 odd months ago. So there's actually 2 broken weighbridges at the Jindabyne landfill. I mean, can we be any more incompetent? The EPA advised that excavation and transportation of landfill material is not permitted and another solution to the current situation at the landfill is required. Where is this advice? I will seek a clarification at the end of my time. Where is that advice attached with this to give us explanation? It isn't. I don't accept that as an excuse. Commercial quantities of waste and recycling above 1 metre will not be able to be accommodated. Well, again, we're misdirecting ourselves because we haven't restricted the presentation of recycling. We've said waste to be buried. We've said there's no limit on the recycling that can turn up, and yet it says here anyone with more than a cubic metre will be shot off to Cooma, 70 kilometres travel each way. And then if the tip operators are given that instruction to say you will refuse all commercial rubbish, and I turn up, bit of an argumentative sod, and I say it's not commercial, it's from my house. How do we resolve that impasse? It is unfair to transfer the problem of this lack of management to the staff at the tip house or at the weighbridge. We have not managed, we have not addressed, we have not planned, we have not listened to our staff. The fault sits at the executive table from not listening to the staff. The staff have been talking about these problems. You think of it as an Egyptian pyramid. They were trying to put the capstone on. There's no room to do it. It's pretty obvious that you've got massive bulldozers and compactors all dancing around an ever-decreasing space on the side of a hill at Jindabyne. It says staff have been briefed and additional staff, where available, will be deployed. Is that at the expense of Ratepayers, Numarella and Jindabyne transfer stations, which struggle to stay open now? Will we lose our staff? We're open for 2 hours on Wednesday and 4 hours on Sunday at Jindabyne. Will we become a second-order priority because all of the rubbish in Jindabyne is more important than the villages? This is a catastrophe, a crisis, and it was avoidable.
Thank you. Do I have someone speaking for the motion?
Yes. I just have a number of questions that might...
Questions?
Yes, it has become a critical issue, but it's not a crisis. Nobody's going to die because of the fact that we were caught a bit short on the timing.
I think, resulting from Councillor Fowler's question, something along the line, and that advice provided by the EPA is circulated to all councillors.
Written advice?
Well, verbal advice is not worth the paper it's written on, as you know.
That's what I'm trying to clarify.
So, yes, but I think this is so serious, we can't just say there's been advice and blah. We need to have formal written advice. So and that advice provided by the EPA is provided to councillors.
We'll seek.
We'll see if we have written advice. That's fine. Councillor Rose.
Look, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to cause any trouble here. There's enough trouble at the tip. But I have to agree 100% with Councillor Thaler. And unlike Councillor Stewart, I'm looking for the culprits. And I think we need to work out what's going on here, because they say it's either stuff up or conspiracy, but this is a stuff up. So I think there's a real issue, and I feel embarrassed about having you go to the mayor.
Are you, sorry, just point of order, are you trying to say it's wrongdoing by staff?
Sorry,
Wrongdoing by staff?
no, I'm not saying anything like
Okay,
that.
you're not saying that? Thank you.
I'm saying that whatever's happened here, it's a really terrible situation to find. There's a crisis that's happened. We can debate that word, but that something's happened last week we didn't know about, and suddenly we have a really significant issue. And it's very difficult for you. I feel sorry for you, Mr. Mayor, to have to go to the mayor and say, look, to the local member and say, look, you know, there's been a problem occur here, but we've known it for 20 years, but suddenly it's a crisis and we've got to do something and we need cash. I'm sure you can find a better way of doing it than that. But still, it's very concerning to me that we've got a very difficult issue. And so I think we had a very excellent input from Councillor Thaler last week in a briefing we had. I'm just speaking against the motion because I'm just wondering if there's something more that we need to do here that will deliver an outcome. So I suppose that's just the opportunity for someone to make some further amendments if they think about it.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott for the motion.
First, I have to say, Councillor Rose, see you're against it. I won't be recommending your garbage be picked up. But
Thank you,
anyway,
Councillor.
look, I must admit, I'm quite ashamed to be part of an organisation that didn't see this problem arising. It's pretty hard to pay into it. Even though we've been in for 5 minutes, that's no excuse. But anyway, it has happened. We talked about it earlier. I do hope we're going to have improved communications to the community, because it really, what we've put out so far, I think one press release that had to be changed after 30 minutes. That's just not good enough. We also had to, it was too late as well. We're astounded when we were told on Thursday, maybe we reacted wrongly, both myself and Councillor Rose on the way home, but really,
I don't think we did.
we were quite shocked in saying the tip was going to close. But anyway, having said all that, I think I'd like to put in, an amendment in, because in the last week we've become experts on tips, or a lot more than what we knew. And I think there are operators like Councillor Thaler and also several others that I've talked, regular tip users, shall we say, builders, those sort of people. And I think council has to give them a chance to contribute in some way, whether it's a form to fill in or some response, because there are people out there like Councillor Thaler that have come up with some very good ideas. I've had 2 or 3 ring and they're not prepared to stand up, but they are prepared to write down what their suggestions are. Now, whether they're good or not, I don't know, but they do have suggestions on top of what we've already heard from the staff that you listen to.
So, sorry, what's your amendment?
Sorry?
What's your amendment?
Well, that we give general tip operators, builders, people who use the tip regularly, a chance to contribute to the solution. Because there are people like Councillor Thaler and Councillor Rose and myself were there the other day, and I saw the email he put into council. It was very impressive with what he put in, his suggestions, his solutions, and he even went to the trouble of nominating some operators. And I'm not saying we should do that, but I think we should take, the more suggestions of how to do this is quite healthy, because it appears that there is more than one way to do it.
So what's the extra amendment? Sorry, what's the wording?
Well,
Could I just help?
I'd like,
Councillor.
quite happy for councillor Rosehill.
I just wonder if what the intention is yours is to say something along the lines that feedback is sought from tip users and operators,
Regular tip users and
operators about the solutions proposed.
Okay, and the second question is actually through you, Chair, to Councillor Davis. Councillor Davis was quite emphatic that no one's going to die as a consequence of this. Can she stand by that when we are actually going to be directing all commercial users to basically drive to Coomera and back, increasing their time on the road and the risk of an accident occurring because we have increased the amount of traffic and material moved?
Thank you. I don't need her to answer that question unless you want to.
It's not a question.
No, it's not a question. Thank you.
Just have a go.
Anyone else would like to debate?
Without answering.
Sorry, I put the motion. All those in favour? No, I put the motion.
Sorry.
Sorry, I put the motion. All those in favour? Hands up. Councillor Stewart, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rose, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Davis, Councillor Summers, Councillor Higgins and Councillor Hannah. All those against? Councillor Thaler. Carried.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, just a key point, which I wouldn't want to get lost, but just this is for your story. I think it's just that there's a systems failure somewhere.
Okay, we moved on. We moved on. We're not. I understand that. We're moving on.
Sure.
I appreciate your comment, but we're moving on. Councillors,